Alpha is not a man. Alpha is not a gender. Alpha is a code of clarity under fire, of discipline over drama, of leadership in silence. And some of the fiercest alpha energy history has ever recorded was carried by women, not through domination, but through direction. These were not anomalies, these were signals. Boudica rose from violation to vengeance. Harriet led armies in silence. Joan stared death in the face and commanded kings. Nzinga negotiated with empires. Hypatia taught philosophy in a city burning with ignorance. They were not granted power. They forget it. They didn't raise voices. They raised standards. And they didn't chase permission. They moved in mission. This is what Alpha looks like in feminine form. Quiet clarity, ritual before reaction, mission over martyrdom, presence that shifts rooms. This is not masculinity. This is mastery. Across centuries, across continents, across cultures. The code showed up again and again. These women didn't share titles. They shared rituals. Boudica anchored her rage in purpose. Harriet converted silence into strategy. Nzinga weaponized diplomacy. Joan turned visions into battlefield command. Hypatia fought ignorance with intellect. Alpha is not about noise, it's about the non-negotiable. And every one of these women had one. I will not fold to fear. They lead without waiting. They train without applause. They raise children and empires. They heal wounds while holding the line. This is Alpha in action. And if you ask them how, they won't talk about feelings. They'll talk about rituals. The prayer before action, the breath before answer, the refusal to flinch, the commitment to build what didn't exist. This isn't about mimicry. It's about alignment. You don't need permission to lead like this. You need practice. You need to remember, you were built for this. The alpha woman is not a reaction. She's a refined force, and she doesn't ask for power. She trains in silence until her presence commands it. Alpha is not posture. It's precision. Precision in how she leads. Precision in how she listens. Precision in how she decides when to speak, when to move, when to stand alone. She doesn't need rage to burn. She has rhythm. She doesn't seek validation. She builds signal. Because real power isn't given to women like her, so she becomes it. Alpha women train in ritual. Mornings forged in clarity. Boundaries built from breath. Intentions set without apology. Code lived without noise. She may cry. She may feel deeply. But those emotions do not lead her. Her code does. This is not softness. This is self-command. She protects what matters. She cuts what weakens. She leads, whether anyone notices or not. Because Alpha isn't a spotlight. It's an internal signal turned up so loud the world can't mute it. Alpha isn't loud, it's layered. She's the strategist, the nurturer, the protector, the scholar, and when she walks in discipline, her life speaks a signal no volume can fake. The world will misunderstand her. Call her too much. Call her too cold. Call her too intense. But she doesn't shrink. She sharpens. Because the alpha woman doesn't owe explanation. She embodies execution. Whether she leads teams or households, whether she builds businesses or raises warriors, whether she speaks to crowds or carries silence, she moves with intention. Alpha Ordinum doesn't train for one mold. It trains for one mission. Discipline over emotion. Presence over panic. Legacy over noise. This is her creed. I am not ruled by mood. I protect what matters. I rise through structure. I remember who I am. You want to know where the alpha women are? They're in the fire, but they're not burning. They're leading the quiet revolution of routine, of ritual, of sovereignty. This is what they don't see. They don't see the rituals in the dark, the decisions no one applauds, the boundaries held with love and steel. She rewires generations by leading herself first. She does not need credit. She needs completion. She's not waiting to be chosen. She chooses herself daily. And that's what makes her alpha. This world tells women to perform. Alpha women prepare. Prepare for the challenge. Prepare for the test. Prepare for the day the world turns to them and says, "We need someone strong." And she will not rise by chance. She will fall to ritual, because she's been rehearsing for years. Stillness is her superpower. Reflection is her resistance. Decisiveness is her fire. She doesn't need to fight for attention. She fights to stay aligned. Because Alpha doesn't chase. Alpha remembers who she is. Welcome to Alpha Ordinum. Every alpha woman you admire was not born into comfort. She was born into decision. The decision to rise anyway, to lead anyway, to show up when no one claps, when no one thanks her, when no one understands the weight she carries. That is the alpha signature. She walks the path, even alone, and that path is lined with repetition. Morning silence, non-negotiable movement, a creed spoken inward, a mission reviewed, a presence anchored, not for likes, not for trend, but for legacy. Because when the world forgets how to lead, she becomes the quiet standard bearer. So, what does Alpha Ordinum ask of her? Not perfection, not performance, but precision of self. Ritual over reaction, clarity over comfort, signal over story. Her worth is not earned. Her edge is refined. Every act of discipline is her rebellion. Every breath of stillness is her sword. Every step in code is a strike against chaos. She doesn't lead to be followed. She leads because it is written. Alpha is not gender. It is alignment. And in that alignment, she becomes the standard. They told her to quiet down, to smile more, to soften her edge. But Alpha doesn't answer to opinion. Alpha answers to mission. She doesn't need to raise her voice. Her life raises the standard. Every day she shows up is a refusal to be reduced, a refusal to drift, a refusal to forget, and instead, a declaration. That strength can be quiet, that love can be disciplined, that clarity can cut sharper than noise. She doesn't need a title, she doesn't need permission, she needs presence, and the rhythm to return to its daily. That's the Alpha way. So, to every woman who walks with focus, who trains in silence, who commands without spectacle, we see you, we honor you, we welcome you. You are not becoming powerful, you already are. This is your mirror, this is your frame, this is your fire. Welcome to Alpha Ordinum. This is not just a name, it's a mindset, a way of life, a code that only a few will ever truly understand. Alpha is not found in the noise, not in the applause, the attention, or the empty praise, not in the filtered highlights or trending clips. Because Alpha doesn't chase the spotlight, Alpha creates it. It is built in morning silence before the sun rises. When the world sleeps, she sharpens her mind. When others scroll, she shows up. When there's no camera, no reward, no recognition, she still moves. Alpha is built in decisions no one sees.